Yo, what's up guys? This is a bit of a different video. So I came across this slide on TikTok and it's blowing up quite a bit and there's a lot of comments on it and I want to give my take on it for sure because this is harkens back to an old series on the channel from 7 years ago, I think, called Fantasy Battles, Who Would Win? And I would pit together different characters in Star Wars against, well, other characters. And we'd have this fictitious battle using everything from their force powers, their lightsaber fighting style, their overall fighting psychology, their personality, and their overall latent abilities, possible latent abilities, to deduce who would win in this fictitious fantasy battle. So today's is going to be going over Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, Mace Windu, and Yoda versus World Between Worlds Dark Side Anakin. Now, to this, I would have to say we really have to kind of deep dive into this one, and we have to go through each character individually and then as a whole, all together in one. Now, World Between Worlds Dark Side Anakin, World Between Worlds Anakin in general, in my opinion, is a very different beast. It's one that we haven't really talked about too much yet or really know all that much about, so all we can do is really theorize. Now, World Between Worlds Anakin is kind of pinnacle, max potential Anakin that he could have ever possibly been, and it really opens up a whole world to a completely different understanding of Anakin Skywalker in general, because we've always argued, you know, what if Anakin reached his full potential? Would he be like Starkiller? Would he be this and that? He'd be much more powerful than Starkiller. If Anakin reached his full potential, he would have blown way past Starkiller, past Palpatine, past anybody. George always said that Anakin at full potential would have been 200% what the Emperor was at his peak max power. That's twice as powerful as the Emperor. That's extremely, extremely powerful. We're talking like wormholes, being able to probably create reality for other people using the Force, making them see facades and hallucinations, maybe even playing with matter itself, you know, materializing things or dematerializing things with the Force. As we know, the Force binds all living things and it goes in and out of everything and it's made of everything. So, or everything is made of it. So, not really far-fetched to say that Anakin could potentially create things out of thin air, out of the Force, if he so wanted to. That's a theory that I have. Full potential Anakin. Now, Starkiller, of course, would have been the power of Luke Skywalker if Luke had trained with Vader. And I think this was also said by George, but I can't find the source of that. So, let's look at this one-on-one. If this were regular Anakin, Obi-Wan versus Anakin, I believe Anakin would have won if it wasn't for Anakin's hubris, losing to the high ground. That really put him at a disadvantage, and he thought he could beat Obi-Wan at the same move that Obi-Wan used to fight Darth Maul. It got crushed right in his face, thrown back into his face, and he lost. Now, if you haven't seen my interview with Nick Gillard, he goes over an alternate ending to the high ground. Go check it out. It's on the channel. Now, then we have, you know, so Anakin Skywalker versus Obi-Wan in an open field, like Thor Ragnarok with Hulk and Thor. I believe Anakin would win. Now, with Yoda and Anakin, well, Yoda would beat Anakin. With Luke Skywalker and Anakin, it depends what age Luke is. I think Return of the Jedi Luke would easily lose to Anakin Skywalker in Revenge of the Sith. And right now we're going to regular Anakin, okay, because there's a point to this. Mace Windu versus Anakin. Now, Matthew Stover and both Nick Gillard have said that Anakin would have beat Mace Windu. When I was lucky enough to interview them, Matthew Stover, who wrote the novelization of Revenge of the Sith.
In your head, who do you think would win? Has George ever talked about anything like that? If Anakin and Mace had fought, I know with Vapad, it's Anakin. I feel like if he was in the dark side, Mace would then beat him much easier. But if he was a Jedi fighting Mace, I feel like it would be more difficult for Mace Windu. But I want to know what you think.
Well,
he wrote them.
It is canonical that Anakin has transhuman reflexes. I mean, the only human ever to finish a pod race, and he was what,
right.
8?
Yeah,
right.
Very fast.
He is popularly considered the greatest fighter pilot in the galaxy.
Right.
Obi-Wan says so in New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
So Anakin, I think, would have a definite edge, and his sort of innate aggressiveness would fairly well counter Mace's. You know, that's kind of the key to Mace's fighting style is a kind of overwhelming ability to attack aggressively from many directions at once. If anyone would really be capable of matching that hand to hand, it's probably Anakin.
Dude,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure that I would give Anakin an edge over Mace.
Okay.
But I'm also. I think it would be a. I think it would be a very even fight.
That's insane.
Different styles. Well, also Anakin's force powers are operated at a higher level than Mace's. Mace's are more precise, but Anakin is he's just tremendously powerful.
And then Nick Gillard, who created literally the power levels for the Star Wars characters in the prequels and worked very closely with George, with Hayden, with Ewan, and everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, Mace is potentially beyond a lot of others, and I think because of the dark side, it's the same with Anakin in my head. You've got to learn that stuff, you know, you've got to go through those stages. And if you don't, then it's like, I used to say, it's like a junkie, you know, that's taken a drug and reached enlightenment via the drug rather than standing on his head for 10 years and, you know, getting enlightenment. And I think Mace, when you look at Mace and Sam, you know, just the guy, because you have to go with two, the character and the actor, there's a darkness there anyway. You know, there's something that's happened with Mace that's turned his lightsaber a bit purple. And so, he's certainly more deadly than most of them.
Yeah.
I'd have him just under Anakin and Yoda, but Palpatine is a whole nother level.
Oh, wow. You'd have him under
Me,
Anakin.
Palpatine's a whole nother level, you know.
So I would have to say that Anakin would beat Mace Windu, especially if he were in the light side. If you were in the dark side, it'll be a little more difficult for Anakin, but we can get into that in a minute. So right off the bat, we have 2 for 2. Anakin beats Obi-Wan, beats Luke. Anakin, well, actually 3 for 1. Anakin beats everyone, Obi-Wan, Luke, and Mace Windu, but he doesn't beat Yoda. He loses to Yoda. Now, if they were all fighting him all together, it would be extremely difficult. However, World Between Worlds Anakin, let's say he harnesses the dark side and he fights all of them at the same time. He floors Obi-Wan, he floors Luke, he floors Yoda, okay? This is Yoda that's still alive, this is not Yoda that's dead. So, he floors Yoda. I say he loses to Mace Windu. Why do I say this? Some of the OGs on the channel know why I'm about to say this. He loses to Mace Windu because he's now dark side Anakin. It doesn't matter if he's World Between Worlds or he's not. Dark side anything against Mace Windu will, more often than not, pretty much always lose. And that is simply because of Mace Windu's variant of 7th form of lightsaber combat, which is called Vapod, however you want to pronounce it. And through this form, he actually is able to use the dark side of his opponent to funnel it like a literal, like a faucet, like from one end to the other and back out, back onto them. So what it also does is it channels his own dark side energy. And like a Vapod, like the actual animal, which is this crazy tentacled creature. And you can learn about that in Shatterpoint, which is all about Mace Windu going in the jungle to save Depa Billaba. And he comes across a Vapod itself, and it's got its freaking tentacles going everywhere. Nuts like that. And you learn that this move is literally unbeatable. So when Anakin walked in and he saw Mace Windu and Palpatine fighting, he literally described them as a red and purple blur. Like they were moving so fast that even his eyes couldn't keep up. So to this I say, okay, well, you know, Anakin, once he, you know, unleashes his focus and perhaps a little bit of, I don't want to say anger because that could make him lose to Mace, but his focus, let's say, and determination, I think then he'd be able to see everything that's going on, no problem. It's just Anakin's like a base form Gohan, and then he gets angry and he just like freaking Gohan beast, okay? But this World Between Worlds level is like freaking Ultra Ego Vegeta meets perfected Ultra Instinct Goku meets Beerus meets Wiz meets Orange Piccolo and Gohan Beast, you know? So it's like, it's pretty tanked out, I would say. So the only problem that World Between Worlds Anakin would have is with Mace Windu. Now that's if he's in the dark side. If we're getting light side Anakin World Between Worlds, then he just destroys all of them, no problem. But if this is him using parts of the dark side, I think Mace would be able to latch onto that. He'd be able to see some possible shatter points, and he would probably be the one that he would have the most difficulty with. With Obi-Wan, he knows how to defeat Obi-Wan, especially at this level, at this point. He's too aggressive, too fast, too offensive, and would probably just destroy Obi-Wan eventually and get through his defenses, through his Form 3 source suit easily. With Yoda, Yoda's just extremely fast. He's extremely fast, extremely skilled. He knows where to strike. His force powers are really strong, but at this point, Anakin is in the World Between Worlds, and he's perfected. He is the pinnacle of who he's going to be. He just destroys him. He's the chosen one. Luke Skywalker, he teaches his little boy a lesson, destroys him too. Mace Windu, a little bit more of a challenge, but at the end of the day, still will destroy Mace Windu and beat Mace Windu. No problem, no doubt at the end of the day. Not no problem, it'll be a little bit of a problem, but no doubt. Definitely destroys all of them. However, it'll be a little bit of an issue. And you might be able to say like, okay, well, like 9 times out of 10, Anakin wins. Maybe 1 time out of 10, dark side, Anakin, World Between Worlds, loses against Mace Windu. And that's the reason why. So that's my thoughts on this little fantasy battle. Let me know if you want me to do more of these. I love doing these. These are like some of my favorite series to cover on the channel. They're just so fun, and I feel like I can just like riff on them, no problem, super easily. So we would definitely have to kind of like go into their psychology a little bit, but I feel like World Between Worlds, Anakin is so unbelievably calm and almost stoic in a sense, where like nothing will throw him off balance. Luke Skywalker's Luke Skywalker, you know, calm but not as experienced. Obi-Wan Kenobi is Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's extremely good at defense, but at the end of the day, someone's eventually going to break through that defense. Yoda, I mean, Yoda can get killed. I mean, Palpatine beat him. He just has to use some force powers and catch him off guard. And I think that Anakin, being twice as strong as the Emperor, could literally do that with Yoda. And then Mace Windu, you know, he would beat Mace Windu. It would just be a little more difficult because Mace has that dark side in him, which allows him to tap into some other realm kind of abilities that we haven't really learned about yet. And I think Mace has so much more potential than we've actually seen in canon or legend. So yeah, that's what I think about that. I think Anakin World Between Worlds beats all, and for those reasons, except for, you know, maybe Mace Windu, depending on what form he's in. Anyways, that's what I think about that. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.
Now, fulfill your destiny.